Meanwhile, Chris Pratt is just waiting in this room, which in a weird ego trip means that Chris Pratt waited for me.
Yeah, which is cool.
I kept him waiting in a power move. This feels just slightly odd and awkward and out of place in terms of the rest of the franchise. It's not what I expected.
Describe the final sequence of this film to be genuinely electric and deeply sad. It just shows that sometimes I think you've got to ease it in a bit.
Yeah.
Let me come to you and I'll feel like I made the choice to cry.
Yes.
I don't want to be told that like crying wasn't my own decision. I think that's my rounding
James,
area.
Are we saving cinema?
I think so. Well, it's not
excuse me, can I just interject at that point? You know this story, James, but I've had the Na'vi-style food at the Pandora ride in the Animal Kingdom in Orlando, Florida. It's the worst food I've ever eaten in my mouth in my life. I don't know why they would create a pineapple cream cheese spring roll, but if that's the kind of food they're eating on Pandora, they can shove it. I will rip my oxygen mask off
not having
and
that.
just suffocate than have to consume any more of that processed garbage. I'm the king. I'm King Charles. I'm allergic to pepper.
For my Mercedes-Benz.
This is my Mercedes-Benz. Have you heard about it?
Welcome back to Pulp Kitchen. George, we are back.
Hello. Happy New Year, sir.
We're
Happy New
here.
Year, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us. My name is James.
I'm George.
And thank you so much. You've been listening to us for a very long time. Welcome back. If you're new, welcome, full stop.
Yeah, welcome.
I'm genuinely really excited to start this year.
There are some amazing movies coming out this year.
Which we discussed in a recent episode, which we pre-recorded.
It's a big bumpy year. And if you are a new listener for us, then great. Buckle up
for the
because
ride.
we've got a great year of films and content ahead.
Speaking of, today we are going to be talking about Hamnet, new Chloe Zhao film starring Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley. Plus, we're going to be talking about 28 years later, The Bone Temple. And as a special treat, straight out the year, with an interview with one of the stars, Jack O'Connell, who we spoke to yesterday, which is going to be included in this chat.
And I think Jack O'Connell is one of those actors that when we usually say his name, we usually then follow it with good in everything.
He's good in everything.
He is good in everything.
And he's had a really good run, which we talked about with him. His villainous streak.
He always plays slightly murky characters.
A little bit, yeah. But he's really kind of like leading villain man of the last year.
Is he more villainous in Sinners or as Amy Winehouse's husband?
He's got a villainous in that as well.
Well, of course he's villainous. He's a piece of shit.
He's doing
Blake.
that really well.
Yeah.
Yes. If you Google, is a really despicable person.
Yes. So you're like
I think the
vampire,
tie's cast
racist
on that.
vampire, or Blake.
So that's what we've got in store for you. Also want to announce that, guys, we are back recording Double Take, which is our Patreon exclusive news show. We've missed a week because we were away, but don't worry, we're going to give you an extra special Double Take this week, an Avengers Doomsday special. The embargo lifts, George.
Yeah.
The year-long embargo of refusing to talk about it until we need to talk about it. We've got 3 trailers now.
Yes.
So
They're mini little trailers, aren't they?
Mini sort of trailerettes.
Yes.
Trailerettes,
indeed,
yeah. Which we're going to be talking about, and then we'll give you another Double Take later in the week, which will cover Golden Globes and Avatar success and all such. But with that, an announcement. Guys, it is January, and we are officially doing a January sale for Double Take. Guys, if you don't know, the best way to support us is to head over to our Patreon. We do exactly what we do here, but in a really different format. It is our news show where we react to trailers, rumors, news. We bet Twixes on whether or not someone's going to be announced. And
the results of which will be in this week's Double Take.
Which will be in this week's Double Take. If you already listen, you know. But guys, if you love what we do and you want a little bit more from us, we've always wanted to do a new show and didn't quite want to sort of shoehorn in it to this Pulp Kitchen format. But we've done that on our Patreon. We absolutely love doing it. And thank you to so many of you who already support us there. So if you love what we do and you can take advantage of the sale, it's 33% off. That's a third. Almost. It's not 0.33 but recurring. It's pretty good.
It's pretty there.
You just need to use code PULP33 when you buy on Patreon, and that will take it over for you. And if you want, you can either get it for the monthly subscription, or you can sort your entire annual subscription now using the sale and save a third. So if you want to do that, amazing. If you want the monthly, no problem. But that is there for you. Go and check it out. If you've been on the fence, now's the time to jump on it. And we'll see you in Double Take.
And I think an important thing to say is that we say that Patreon is the best way to support us because we are still an independently produced podcast. It is just James and I doing this. You'll notice at the end of shows, we say thank you to our producers, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And those producers are producers because they subscribe to the producer tier on Patreon, which is the highest tier you can subscribe to.
The most respected tier.
And which it gives us a great contribution, and we're incredibly thankful to those producers. And we have a new producer as well, Umar.
Umar,
thank you for joining. So we now have 4 producers, Finn, Dave, Loz, and Umar. Thank you very much. So if anyone else out there is tinkling and hankering to be a producer,
go and check it out. And just to go, it goes without saying, if you want it with your Patreon access, you get Pulp Kitchen ad free. At the Siren tier, you get Double Take, and then we have a VIP tier for our very important patrons, where you get priority access to have your email read out on the show. So go and check that out. The link will be in the description of this video, and that's code PULP30 33 PULP33.
All caps,
but I'm sure lowercase works.
But it's a code, isn't it? If one doesn't work, try the other.
And that'll run till the end of January. So go and get that, and we'll see you over there. So George, before we talk about the films, I've been away.
Yes, you have.
And I went on a very long flight.
You did.
Went to Namibia and then South Africa. Amazing trip. Love Namibia. Incredible. Which was a very long flight. It's a 12-hour flight to Johannesburg overnight. 9 p.m. takeoff. So you've got about 2-3 hours of watching usually before you probably need to go to sleep. And I very diligently, after meal had been served,
of course.
Final thing, trays taken. That's when I think in a long haul flight, the watching really begins. People do bits of it, but I can't really, sort of. Went up, George, and there were 2 films of note that I saw people watching on this 9 p.m. overnight flight to Johannesburg on the 23rd of December, 2025. George, can I get you to guess what films you think people were watching?
Well,
I've got 2 of note.
First of all, let's get us out of the way. Any Christmas movies in there?
No Christmas movies in there.
Okay. So 2025 releases?
Yes, both.
Superman? No. Okay.
No Superman.
Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yes, that was number 1. That was the one I think I saw maybe 7 or 8 people watching as a consistent thing. I was like, Jurassic World is being watched here.
Sadly, a plane movie.
That's the thing. It was my take. Yeah. I looked at that and I was like, yeah. That's probably.
It shouldn't be. It should be bigger than that.
Because it requires no real thought, which is such an insult to that. And I'm so sorry to say it. And if you maybe you didn't see it, but you know what? Everyone loves a Jurassic brand. They go, oh yeah, Jurassic. I didn't see Jurassic. I'll put that done.
Yeah.
Easy.
Okay.
I saw Scarlett Johansson's glowy tanned face just also radiating through the plane.
When you see it on someone else's plane screen, because it's shot on film and looks gorgeous, you go, oh, that looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then you watch it and you go,
oh, they've got the I didn't see that one.
Snickers bar.
In it. No. Snickers. What? God, you'd think they'd have better stuff.
Lay's potato crisps.
M&M's. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And another film which came out this year.
As in 2025.
Sorry, last year. Sorry. I liked it more than you did. That's the clue. You were disappointed, actually, I'd say. Ooh. I agree with you on your criticisms, but I think I just generally liked it more than you.
It's a big movie. Big.
Not big, but not tiny.
Huh.
Got big actors in it.
Materialists.
Yes. Talia watched it, by the way. She loved it.
Yeah. I'm fine with that film.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just I'm waiting for the...
Yeah, so those people watching Materialists.
It's a holding pattern until the next Celine song.
Yes.
That's how I feel like.
You win some, you lose some?
Yep.
You're so there for her next film, though.
So there.
Yeah, we got to interview her last year, which was a real career highlight for us.
And that is the thing. If you are a new listener, as we have with today, we do get access to interview actors and directors quite frequently, which is a huge privilege of the show. Something we really enjoy doing.
A huge success of last year for us.
So go check out last year where we had a whole episode with Edgar Wright, but we also interviewed Chiwetel Ejiofor, Celine Song,
Danny Boyle, Alex Garland.
I mean, many
others.
Just scroll back through the feed and you'll see.
Have a look.
Anyway, interesting. I have a story for the listeners. I've told James this already, but I think it's prudent before I forget it. Speaking of interviewing people, so I had the privilege of being able to interview Chris Pratt,
an Avenger,
a big Avenger,
a big main Avenger of the Avengers. I don't think he'll be in the new Avengers.
No, I didn't want to ask him either because I think he wouldn't be able to give me any interesting answers. There's rumours he might turn up in Secret Wars though.
Oh yeah, he's got to be in there.
You gotta activate the contract at some point.
Otherwise he's fired. If you're not telling over those two, you've been cut. Let's go check out Double Take for all theories on Avengers.
So I interviewed Chris Pratt, and some of the clips will be coming onto social media and the feed in the coming week. And it was one of those days where it was pounding down with snow.
Yeah.
And it was very cold. But, you know, I leave time to go to these interviews in good time because I'm an organised person. And you're meant to check in half an hour before your interview, which is absolutely fine. And I was like, great, well, my train gets in half an hour before I'm meant to check in, which means I'm there an hour before my interview. Absolutely fine. I get on the train. Everything's going well. I'm sure you guys know what a train is.
Sound. It's like an immersive produced podcast.
I get a call. It's like,
Ring,
it's like an NPR thing. So I'm on the train. And I get a call from the PRs, and this has never happened before in our experience. They say, we're running half an hour ahead of time.
Never, unheard of.
Can you be here as soon as you can? And this is half an hour when they call me before I'm meant to be there anyway. And I'm sort of like, well, I'm already en route. I can't get there any sooner. I think if you... Most people couldn't get there in under half an hour when you've just messaged them. Yeah. Anyway, I get off the phone with them.
As if you're just like sitting in a cafe around the corner, twiddling thumbs.
Waiting. Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, I will get there early.
You're a busy man.
I'm a busy man. And then after I got off the phone, I was on the train, and the train guy comes on and he's like, just let you know, because the snow, there's disruption and everything, we are going to be a bit late into Waterloo. And I'm thinking, ooh, not good. So I'm going to be late in, and they want me there early. Twin things happening here. I must remind myself to do delay repay, by the way, which means you can get your money back after 50 minutes repay. Anyway, so I'm stressing out, and I'm like, Chris Pratt, because also the PRs, this has also never happened on the before, but they were like, oh yeah, it should be fine. And I'm like, I'm not coming all the way in to not speak to Chris Pratt, having seen the movie. Anyway.
I'm George from Pulp Kitchen.
Do you know who I am? Big deal. Anyway, I get to Waterloo. My train is half an hour late, so I am actually late now. Yeah. And I'm telling them, like, I'll be like there at 12:05 or 12:10. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Just keep us posted. And I, as the Americans say, haul ass across London. I have to get to Bond Street because the interview's at Claridge's. And I'm like on the tube, and every time I get a signal, I get a new message from the PR bin, like, can you get an update, please? And I'm panicking because I'm really thinking, like, this is the biggest, like, A-lister we've had. And I don't want to lose him. And he's Star-Lord, for God's sake. And I then get to Bond Street. It's more snow. I'm running across Bond Street, slipping, getting there. They're like, please call us when you get to the hotel because we're going to take you straight into the interview, which also never happens. Usually they sit you down, you get 10 minutes, then you get... Anyway, and I run, and I get to Claridge's, I get up the stairs, and like all the PRs are just stood around there waiting for me. It's like I am the last person of the day.
Literally last one,
I literally last one of the day. And I get there, but obviously, guys, because it had been 0 degrees and snowing, I was very well insulated and in a puffer jacket, over a gilet, over a thick denim shirt, over a tee. So as soon as I get in there and I stop, I'm like... Also, it had just been Christmas. Yeah. Well, it's a very sedentary month, and we're all carrying a little bit of extra insulation, aren't we? And I get that, and I'm asthmatic.
You're like sprinting like you should have had all those blankets.
And I've got, a laptop in my bag, and I'm there, and like I'm so out of breath, and I'm covered in snow, and like someone from Claridge's like tries to give me a glass of water. I'm like, thank you so much. And they're like, you ready to go in? You ready to go in now? I'm like, please, can I have 30 seconds? Just to catch my breath and get my note. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they're on the walkie, like, yeah, he's going to be 30 seconds. I'm thinking, fuck. And meanwhile, Chris Pratt is just waiting in this room, which in a weird ego trip means that Chris Pratt waited for me.
Yeah, which is cool.
I kept him waiting in a power move.
Potentially for up to like 30, 40 minutes.
Potentially.
Or longer because if he was ready earlier.
Anyway, and then I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to go. But I'm like, when you've really hauled it takes a while to get your breath back. And I go in, and Chris Pratt has just sat patiently in this junket room waiting for me. And I go, hi, Chris, how you doing?
With great posture.
With great posture. Honestly,
he does sit upright.
Like he was almost having a conversation with himself in a nice sort of composed way.
He's at peace.
He's absolutely at peace. And he was very friendly, absolutely lovely. And you'll see in the whole interview, actually, he's a true gentleman. But I sit down and I'm like, hey, Chris, how you doing? So nice to see you. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, no, I just had to run here. Then he was like, you're covered in snow. And I'm like, I just had to sprint here. He's like, do you need a minute to catch your breath? And I'm like, you know what, Chris?
Very nice of Chris Pratt.
I said, can we take 10 seconds? And he was like, sure. So he and I just sort of sat there breathing with each other. And you'll notice it. I mean, if you get to the beginning of the interview, you can just hear me sort of go, okay, hi, Chris Pratt. I'm George from Pulp Kitchen. And again, you wouldn't know this if I hadn't have told you, but if you look at like halfway through the interview, you can just see the perspiration on my brow just sort of going down. But you know what? I want to say, I mean, it was like a huge, massive adrenaline spike having to do that. Yeah. But I think actually it weirdly helped the interview because I was ready to go. I was full of adrenaline,
and that like he was nice and cool about
That's
it.
the
And, like
thing,
another
yeah.
talent could of his size could definitely have been like, I'm
not doing
really
this.
annoyed that you're late.
Yeah. But he was such a gentleman. I still got the full 10 minutes. He was, really nice interview, actually, I have to say. So look out for those clips. I thought you guys would enjoy that little behind the scenes.
So when you go and check it out on socials, you see the sweat on George's brow.
George is just sprinting it. And I tell you what, I didn't cool down, I want to say, for about 3 hours. Because then I had I then had to go straight from this. I had about half an hour to get from Claridge's to go to Sony to watch The Bone Temple, which we're going to be talking about today. Anyway, look out for that interview.
I think also like you maybe like travel lateness, time stress gets to you quite a lot, as it does everyone. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't wish it on you if the people I know.
I wouldn't want to. It's Chris Pratt of Hollywood.
Yeah,
Hollywood.
You don't want to miss it.
My fear was also I'd get there and they'd be like, "You've got 2 minutes."
Yeah,
and I'd be like, "What a waste of time," because the film. Well,
anyway, if I had 2 minutes, I'd be like, what's going to happen in Doomsday, mate? Just, I've got 2 minutes. Give me one thing.
Tell me what happens in Doomsday through interpretive dance. And I'll see if I can get it.
That's a million views right there.
Yeah, straight away. Anyway, right, should we get on to some movies?
Let's get on and do it.
Okay, so 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Yes, a very soon released sequel to 28 Years Later, which came out summer last year, which was the sort of reactivation of this dormant IP, sort of a British horror franchise that is quite well liked. We really liked 28 Years Later. Yeah. Go check out our end of year review to hear us talk about it more. And what I found quite interesting is that when we posted clips to social media of our discussing how much we love 28 Years Later at the end of last year, I was surprised at how many people disagreed. And I've realized now, I've seen it's got 6.6 on IMDb. Yeah. And I was surprised because having spoken to other peers, like Fred likes it, Hannah and Benedict like it, and a lot of emails we had were very effusive about it. I was surprised that some people found it really dull and were quite disapproving of the film.
I had my second time I saw it at the premiere where it was like people were coming out and reacting. There was like a couple of peers of ours were like, yeah, it was fine, which is really strange because I had a double great reaction to it. Again, a very specific thing of like why it was so great for me. But I also was like, this is genuinely one of the best films of the year. It was really, really, really good. And we've spoken about this sort of phenomenon of this Bone Temple film. Also having the name 28 Years Later, coming, I think we agree, far too soon after the last one. And I've had now, I think, 3 different moments, which I predicted, which is I'd say, oh, I've seen the new 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. And I go, oh yeah, I saw that too. And I'm like, no, The Bone Temple is a different film. And I just think it was a mistake to release it this soon, which is like 7-8 months from the last one, and to have it be 28 years later, The Bone Temple. I wonder if you should have gone The Bone Temple, a 28 years story or something.
Hours of meetings talking about it.
And also, do you remember when the first one came out and 28 years later came out and it was like, oh yeah, they've done that. This is the first of a trilogy potentially. And everyone was like, wait, what? Yeah, and they've already shot the second one. And it was like, what? And before I'd even seen it, I was like, oh, so this is like a new thing. And it's like, yeah, well, maybe if it does well. And there was this sense of like slight confusion as to what had gone on here. Danny Boyle's directing the first one, but Alex Garland's written all 3.
Yes.
And I think already I was like, what is this here? But it was fine because 28 years later was such a triumph for me. I was like, that just works in a vacuum as well, separate to years and weeks. Sorry, to days and weeks.
Yeah, I had a similar thing. I think that, it filmed back to back, crucially. And I agree. It's almost that the 28 years later, the one that came out last year, was such a reactivation of the franchise. You almost want to give people longer to get used to the new version of the world.
Let it come out on DVD.
Yeah. Let people watch it at Christmas. I think that,
and it's fine for us, like for us who know and who are it's our job, but we look at the film calendar. Or for people who are really into films, will know there's another one. For most, genuinely, I think 99% of people are not plugged in, and you say 28 years later, I go, oh yeah, that one, I saw it, or oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Also, we should say that in an era where we often have to wait years and years for things, like Batman Part 2, gaps between TV series, like it is strange to be being petty about there being something coming out so soon. I kind of admire the chutzpah in a way, but it clearly shows that there's a range of time that's suitable. Too soon is too soon. Yeah. But I think that...
But also, it's also a titling thing. Like, this isn't a way to do it. But if something was 28 years later too, It almost like
Part two,
part two, like when it's like the fact that it's just a colon in the bone temple, I think is just confusing.
I'm in a group,
it's a shame because it will get lost a bit.
Yes, and I'm in a group chat with some friends, and they were like, "Oh, who wants to go see 28 Years Later Bone Temple?"
Yeah.
And I know for a fact like 2 people hadn't seen 28 Years Later, and they were
Right,
like,
sure.
"Yeah." They were like, "Oh yeah, I'll be up for that." And I'm like, "Well, actually,
You
no,
haven't,
you have to
you're gonna
watch
be very lost,
because
yeah.
it is a continuation of which I'll get onto now."
Yeah.
So before we get into our interview with Jack O'Connell, who plays Jimmy Crystal in this, just a little recap, and this will contain spoilers for 28 Years Later from last year. And I need to talk about the plot; it naturally will.
Yeah.
So, as we know from 28 Years Later, 28 years on from when the rage virus has infected all of the UK, the UK is cut off and isolated from the rest of the world. The rest of the world has continued and is as we know it now, but the UK is a sort of barren, desolate, infected wasteland. In the first film, we met Spike, who is a 14-year-old boy who was living on Lindisfarne, this sort of island, a real island in the UK, separated by a causeway that sort of protects them from the infected. His dad was played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I thought was going to be in this movie, but is not. That also threw me. His mum is Jodie Comer, and the story is kind of like a coming of age tale. And that film sees him interact with Dr. Kelson, played by Ralph Fiennes, who looks like the very picture of evil, which is actually crucial to the plot of the Bone Temple. He's covered in iodine, which makes him look sort of devilish, satanic looking. He's got this very strange bone temple of a mausoleum constructed of human remains, but he's done it from a place of remembering the dead, of memento mori, that kind of thing. And the 28 Years Later ends with Spike deciding to leave home and enter the sort of the world on his own, having sort of both symbolically and literally lost his mother and his father, entering into the wilderness. And the film ends 28 years later with him encountering Jack O'Connell playing Sir Jimmy Crystal, who is a grown-up version of the child we see at the very beginning of 28 Years Later. Stay with me, everyone. It's a bit of plot here. And they meet him and the gang, who are dressed all in tracksuits and wear blonde wigs and sort of refer to themselves as Teletubby names. And it is with that gang that we pick up at the beginning of the Bone Temple. This new movie, we begin with Spike sort of having to go through an initiation ceremony overseen by Sir Jimmy Crystal. And there are, I'd say, 4 or 5 other youths who are a bit older than Spike. So because Spike's meant to be 14, these people are probably meant to be like sort of late teens. And again, they have this sort of twisted look to them. I didn't think this was intentional when I first saw them, but now I've seen the film, I can see that it is. It's referring to Jimmy Savile, the visual depiction of that, and that's confirmed by the fact that he refers to all of the fingers, as they're called, the gang, as Jimmy. They use Jimmy Savile's catchphrase of "How's that?" And for those who don't know, I think that's also worth clarifying, because outside of the UK, people won't know who Jimmy Savile is. But Jimmy Savile was a prolific TV presenter, very famous TV presenter in the UK for decades, from the 60s onwards, and was very distinctive in his vocal delivery and his visual performance. A very sort of, in hindsight, incredibly strange bloke. Yeah. And for decades was a huge part, a mainstay of British television. And then when he died, it all became apparent that he was actually a prolific sex abuser and of children and teenagers that he got away with under the guise of his fame. Now, that's not crucial to the plot of this, but I think it is important with the tone of you've inferred the image.
It's a very loaded comparison.
Yeah, it's a very loaded comparison. You've inferred the image of a very notorious British figure that in the UK was just like a huge cultural thing when it all came out about Jimmy Savile. Anyway, the plot of the Bone Temple, we follow Spike as he is now part of this gruesome gang called the Fingers, led by Jimmy Crystal, who has a very warped ideology of the world. He has an inverted cross underneath that he wears around his neck. He believes he's in the service of a spirit called Old Nick, which is essentially Satan. And whether he truly believes it or not, again, is up for debate. And he is sort of manipulating and gaslighting this gang of youths around him to sort of make their way through the wasteland. At the same time, you have Dr. Kelson, played by Ralph Fiennes, tending to his bone temple. And he has a series of encounters with the Alpha. And you'll remember from 28 years later that the Alphas are these incredibly dense, huge, infected, well-endowed, massive leaders of the infected. One that he calls Samson because of his size and his strength and his long hair. And actually, one of the things that's very interesting about the story is that the alpha becomes a character in and of itself and has its own sort of storyline. So you have these kind of twin stories occurring that may or may not, obviously, at some point converge. That's the essential story for 28 years later. The Bone Temple, like I said, if you hadn't seen the first one, you will be a bit lost because it relies heavily on those two characters of Ralph Fiennes and Jimmy Crystal. Anyway, that's the essential plot. But let's first hear from Jack O'Connell, who plays Sir Jimmy Crystal, here in this interview, who we spoke to him yesterday. Here's Jack O'Connell.
Jack, so nice to meet you. I'm James.
I'm George.
And we're from a film podcast called Pulp Kitchen. First of all, congratulations on the film. I managed to catch it last year and really enjoyed it. And in the last year, it was so great to see you play a villainous role in Sinners and again in this. And Sinners, for our listeners, was so many people's pick of one of their favourite films of the year. And I think it's such a real fun, infectious energy that you're bringing to these villainous characters. Is that something you're really enjoying doing?
It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, and not having the responsibility of being liked by the audience per se. It is kind of it's boundless, and so and there's opportunities to do stuff that isn't obvious and spin it on its head a little bit, and you know, maybe invoke something in the audience that isn't all negative all the time. I think there's like ambiguity there. It's sort of questionable, isn't it?
And Ralph Fiennes also like one of the great villainous actors that's played a number of amazing roles. He doesn't do that in this, which I think is really refreshing. And
Yes.
I quite like soft, fun, comedic Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah.
It's nice to root for Rafe, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you enjoy working with him as well?
Massively. I felt like I learned a ton. Yeah, you just kind of all eyes and all ears and trying to be as studious as possible. But yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
And talking of working with other actors, you worked with some great young actors in this movie. And I was thinking, obviously, nearly 20 years ago now, you burst onto the scene with Skins, and you and your peers in that cast have gone on to amazing careers. You know, Dev, Kaya, Nicholas, and I'm thinking now that you're the grown-up and you're now working with a young cast yourself. Is there any advice you give to them as young actors?
I mean, generally speaking, I don't know really. I think much like when I'm working or looking to Rafe, you sort of, the example that they're setting, a lot of it is quite unspoken. So it's just that really. I mean, the experience of being alongside or on set with someone as gifted and amazing at it as Rafe is the stuff that it will offer you, i.e. the stuff that does go unspoken, you know? So I guess it's just a matter of that, really.
Like, I really loved when credits rolled on this film. My brain was filled with so many interesting ideas, and it was the same with 28 Years Later 1 and this again, and there's so many brilliant ideas to do with, being aware of false idols. And what I love about Apocalypse is it strips society away and it allows us to hold up this amazing mirror to our own society. As an actor playing this type of role, is it ever quite daunting to take on an impression of some of the best and worst of society, or does it get you quite excited once those ideas are being thrown around?
It does. It gets the juices flowing, because the boundaries are kind of lifted, and we're in an imagined space, so there's a lot more room for manoeuvre. So it's a lot of fun, and we kind of had our own invented truth, if you will. A lot of the time we would be guided by when society did collapse and the zeitgeist at the time, 2001, which was a rich source, is a nice well. Try and find ideas from. And Nia and myself are the same age, so we both had the same level of nostalgia for that period.
And the film opens with this incredible sequence that's just sort of overlooking the fingers sort of having this fight together, and Alfie Williams has that great sense of terror and fear on his face. And because we're a film podcast, it got me thinking about, the first time that we all as people get scared by a film, get truly terrified. Do you have a memory of a film that really left a lasting, fearful impression on you?
I think that the Blair Witch Project was hard one to shake off.
Yeah.
And The Exorcist.
You can't go wrong with that. Yeah, terrifying.
properly harrowing. Yeah.
Put me off camping for ages. The Blair Witch Project.
yeah. Because remember, we all thought it might. There was like a rumor that it was real.
Yes,
Do
yeah.
you remember
right.
back when
Yeah,
those
cool,
rumors could
Yeah.
sort of, you could peddle a rumor like that?
Yeah, those early internet rumors, which you had like a hazy photo or something, and it'd be like just sort of like rumors around, and
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I thought WWE was real as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. What? Terrifying. And then I really wanted to ask you just about the presentation of your character, costume, the wigs, the hair. Where does that all come from? Is that something that was developed with your own ideas of the character? Was it given to you on the page when you first got dressed up and looked at yourself in the mirror? Were you like, this is good fun, I'm going to love this? Or did you ever question it and customize it? I just want to hear how that character happened.
A nice, healthy balance. I think it was a good process. There was plenty on the page with what Alex was wanting to do with the character, and then costume designers also designed our set and a large amount of the whole entire look of the film. Gareth and Carson, and they were wonderfully collaborative. They had an idea. Obviously, Jimmy's gang have a certain look to them. But I did sort of want him to stand out a little bit. I definitely wanted him to look a bit cleaner than them, just to sort of suggest that he's no need to get his hands dirty anymore. And so hence the purple velour. And it sort of sets him apart then. The tiara was written, but the purple velour, I don't know, I just liked that it was, that colour was associated with monarchy and it's imperial. So that was the thought process behind that. And we don't have to explain how we got it, because we just have to accept the fact that he does. Which was a lovely bit of license.
I was just looking back at your filmography and ahead of talking to you, and obviously you've worked with some incredible directors, DaCosta on this and Danny Boyle in the previous film, but also Andrew Haigh, Ryan Coogler, Jodie Foster, Angelina Jolie, a great crop of directors there. And I'm wondering, in your experience in your career, has there been an experience of working with those directors, or any piece of advice or something that has stayed with you and still sort of informs your work to this day?
I think there's examples, individual circumstances throughout all of the people you just mentioned there. I feel like I've been incredibly fortunate to have had worked with amazing sort of top of their game people within this industry. And it does, of course, it informs a lot of what I do. So yeah, like I say, and you just know, much like working with Rafe in this instance, is just all eyes, all ears, because the education is going to be bountiful.
I was going to say one last thing that's been stuck in my head is there's a scene where you encounter some other characters, and you give this name as Roberto Calamari, and that name's been sort of ringing out into my head. Is that, am I missing? Is that a reference to something? Is that a name you just came out on the spot? It's just one of those bizarre, brilliant names.
That's Alex Garland for you. So yeah, Roberto Calamari. I did offer options.
Oh yes.
In that moment, numerous. I think Denise Van Outen was one. Denise Welsh was one.
Yes. Yeah.
And they went with what was scripted, as is their prerogative, fair enough.
But then tying back to that nostalgia I see with the other options, was it tying back to the early noughties thing of Denise Van Outen?
Oh yeah. If they were predominant within the
yes.
media, then
Yeah.
then it was fair game.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah,
That's all we've got time for. But Jack, congratulations on the film.
lovely speaking
Fantastic.
to you.
Good chat to you, Jack.
Really look forward to seeing what you do next.
All the best.
Take care. Have a good day.
So that was Jack O'Connell there, a really nice, sincere, clearly very invested in his work guest. It was great talking to him. So let's talk about The Bone Temple.
Yeah.
I saw this last week. You saw it last month,
In
didn't you?
a bit busy, fun multimedia screening
Right.
at Cineworld Leicester Square.
Yes, I
yeah.
saw it in sort of a quieter surround sound box in
Which is
Sony's office.
Which I will say, I
Yes.
first saw 28 28 years later there, that is a completely different cinematic experience.
Yes.
Mine is IMAX, and like it's a really fun place to see a film actually, because it always rises to the occasion for the excitement in the room. But it just does. I'm watching the film with energy on the side.
Yes,
that's
yes,
that's
gotcha.
the difference. Whereas you're in a vacuum, which is great too, but
Yes.
just very different.
And I'm
For
going to
example,
try and refer.
we saw Bad Boys 4 there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Which
That was
really
great
helps
fun.
to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the energy on the
Yeah,
side.
yeah,
If
yeah.
we'd seen that in the black box, it'd be like, fine.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So I will refer to this movie as The Bone Temple, and I will refer to 28 Years Later as 28 Years Later. Just
That's
to
really
clarify,
useful.
it would just be, this would be The Bone Temple. So here's what I think about it. So I think, I do actually think it's really interesting in terms of its direction. I will say broadly, I think it's a very bold move for the franchise in the way it goes. Whether or not I think it's all successful, I'll get into it. I'll talk about the sort of the good things. I think one thing I really like about this sort of new version of the franchise, as a British viewer, I do like that it is kind of a vision of the UK that is twisted, warped, lost, isolated from the rest of the world, and exclusively British, and specifically British. So there's jokes about the NHS, and there's kind of, and what I mean by that is that there's, it feels like a very British franchise happening in front of us. We're so used to movies being either American or just kind of have different influences. I like this is kind of focused within the British Isles. As a British audience member, I felt myself responding to certain things that I think might go over the head of other audience members. And like I said, it's the NHS stuff, but there's also things like the Teletubbies reference and the Jimmy Savile reference. So both the good and the bad references in there. There is the storyline with the Alpha is one of those things which I think, on the one hand, is incredibly bold and interesting in terms of a direction, but also at the same time, sometimes I didn't want them to keep picking at the fabric of the genre. And the more that we sort of investigated and came to know that character,
Less interested.
I thought I'm like, I feel like you're, as much as I admire the ambition, I feel like you're betraying like a sacred tenet of the genre, and if you do that, it kind of slightly all falls apart a little bit because you're placing too much focus and detail on something which should actually be, like in the first one, a background character, a presence, and a piece of fear. There's a real nastiness actually to this movie. That's what I find interesting, even though there's barely any infected in it, I would say, actually. Except for the Alpha, there's very little infected in this, much less than there was in 28 Years Later. But there is still nastiness, human on human nastiness, and that is great for creating atmosphere. And I think if you're a horror kind of fan, you'll still enjoy that. But again, there were times when I was like, okay, this is nasty and mean and unpleasant, but to what end? I know that Sir Jimmy Crystal, played brilliantly by Jack O'Connell, is horrible, and I know he's a right bastard. I don't need this extended sequence to necessarily draw that conclusion for me.
Felt like it was just doing it to be violent, to show violence, rather than actually having a good plot reason for it.
Yeah, and there's this extended sequence of nastiness in a barn that goes on actually for quite a lot of the runtime. And I started to become aware that, this isn't something that gets us to the film. This actually kind of is central to the film. And I thought, okay, we're not going to get back to the infected or whatever. There is a great central scene in which, this is not a spoiler, it's obvious to the film, where Ray Fiennes and Jack O'Connell's characters eventually meet. Yeah. Probably my favourite scene in the movie. Me too. Because we have seen how these two characters operate. We know the kind of completely different, wildly different attitudes that they have. And the conversation that they have with each other in this, apart from the spectre of death with the Bone Temple, is kind of bucolic. You've got like a babbling stream, and they have this sat down conversation with each other. Really, really interesting, played by two wonderful actors. And I just absolutely loved that. But at the same time, there was part of me that just, particularly as the film sort of reached its conclusion, that thought, this feels just slightly odd and awkward and out of place in terms of the rest of the franchise. It's not what I expected, which at times is really interesting and bold. Like I said, it's taken it into a new direction. But for example, it isn't really Spike's story, this film. Spike is in it, but he's a very reactive presence. And I think that made me feel disconnected. And I almost, by the time we got around to the end of the movie, I was like, can we get on with the rest of the, not that I need it to be about story, but we'd set up so much of this coming of age story in the first one. I really felt like Spike was relegated a little bit into the background, and it became more about Ray Fiennes and Jack O'Connell. And because of that emphasis, I also think geographically, the movie doesn't go anywhere new.
No.
We've been to the Bone Temple before. We go back there. And I started to feel like the film felt like Alex Garland had written 28 years later and had maybe a few too many good ideas and thought, you know what? I think actually we could take the scraps of this and make a new movie out of it, which just about works. And there are good moments in this movie and it kind of hangs together. But I also kind of came away thinking it felt adjacent, a little bit superfluous, not essential. And I don't know if it actually progressed the story or the franchise in the way that I would expect. So it's perfectly fine and serviceable. But then again, it's like I can't just say, oh, if you like horror, go and watch it, because I'm like, you have to have seen 28 years later.
And as a horror movie, like outside of it being a 28 film, I kind of am like, it's a bit light on the horror.
Yeah, I agree.
Like what actual, like apart from the violence, which I kind of think is separate in some sense. I'm like, there's really only one running from zombie scene in there.
Yes.
And I don't think it really needs to be that. I kind of wonder if they got to the end of this, we're like, we don't have any running from zombies in this film, and it's a 28 film.
Yeah.
We need to put something in there.
Yes, I think,
and it just felt like it felt very sequency to me.
Yes.
The rest of it, outside of Samson, which is his own thing, it's not really a zombie film out and out.
No.
Which might underserve some people who are like, I'm going to see a zombie film.
I did want a few more chases from infected people. And I know it sounds kind of basic, and I'm sure if Alex Garland was here, he'd be like, do you not understand what I'm doing? I'm trying to take it in this direction, which again, I really respect. But and on an experiential level of watching it, there is just part of you that's just like, yeah, but I loved it when the people with the red eyes just like chased you through some woods. That was also great as well. So in terms of like going into a potential third one, I kind of feel like this is like a spin-off of 28 Years Later, and the next one could almost be called Part 2.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, what do you
agree. I mean, you said basically almost exactly what I feel about it, which is interesting. So I saw it at that big energy, big screen experience at towards the premiere or something.
Yeah.
And I loved 28 Years Later. And I knew that this, A, wasn't a Danny Boyle film, and B, wasn't going to try and do what 28 Years Later did. I never wanted to hold my expectations of how much I loved 28 years and apply that to the Bone Temple, because I knew that if I did that, I would be disappointed. That being said, credits rolled, walking out, I had this feeling of slightly like emptiness, hollow, not quite exactly what I wanted. Not because it didn't try and do 28 years later moments again or try to be the same film. It's more exactly what you said of like, this didn't really serve me in terms of like feeling like a relevant next part of the movie. Coming out of it, I saw it with Fred. Fred was like, oh, I really liked it, and I was a bit cooler than him. Saw Eamon, who I saw the first one with, we both loved it. He was like loving it. Oh, I thought it was brilliant. And I was like, yes, kind of liked it. I thought the whole third act spectacle with the music, and if you've seen it, you know, was really exciting and fun. But broadly, for the large part of the film, I was watching it really sort of like barely simmering to a boil, just kind of letting it wash over me. And I agree, like the film not literally going anywhere kind of started to set in. There's like, oh, this is less interesting to me. It is much less of a zombie movie. I kind of what I think maybe admire about it, and I think this remains to be seen for me, and maybe I'm a bit more positive than you are, as to how this gets crafted over a new trilogy, right? Once I see what 28 Years 3 is, and I see what Alex Garland has tried to do with 1, 2, and 3, in some senses, I'm quite excited that the 28 franchise has become this myriad of different voices, myriad of different directors, and a myriad of different ideas. On one sense, I think that's actually quite an interesting idea of going, 28 days was a moment in time and about something very specific, and it really excited people in that time. 28 weeks, something very different. Some people would say it's the sort of lesser appreciated. 28 years comes back, reminds you of why this franchise is relevant. And then this is like, we're taking that and we're just doing something different, but with the same dressing. On that sense, I'm like, cool. Is the third one going to really complete it for me? And I do actually sort of want to hold out hope that Alex Garland has something really interesting in mind here. The film is not a Danny Boyle film. It's directed by DaCosta, and I think that's correct. And I think it would have been wrong for DaCosta to try and copy Danny Boyle. And I just think if you watch them back to back, you would see Danny Boyle-isms in this one, and then you wouldn't see them there. And I never ever expected it to be, it to be a Danny Boyle film. But yeah, just echoing those sort of sentiments of like the film not really having the impact that 28 years had. I never expected it to. And that I saw this weeks ago now. I seen it maybe a month ago. And the difference is, for 28 years, I've been thinking about all year.
Yeah.
The Bone Temple, I've not really thought about since I've seen it. And that's kind of the tell for me. I think Jack O'Connell's doing some of the best work he's done. He's brilliant in Sinner. He's brilliant in this. Rafe Fiennes, we said this in the interview. We like slightly comedic, softly spoken Rafe Fiennes. He's so much more of an angel than he is a devil, which is like this wonderful irony. And there's this there are really, really interesting ideas in this movie. All this stuff about false idols and sort of these figures will appear even after the fall of society, and you need to be careful about how people present themselves. All of that is great. It just didn't really get me that excited, and it wasn't horrifying or scary or zombie-ish for me to be like, oh, but the sequences in it were brilliant. You know that film that came out a couple of years ago now called Innermost Violent Year?
Yeah.
Do you remember I told you about that? And you're from the
point of
perspective
view
of the monster and the kills in it, although the plot is very the kills in it are these incredible sequences. And you watch it and you sort of laugh with this morbid curiosity, and you feel like I'd kind of been served by something really spectacular in that horror sense. This kind of lacked, not just the violence, but just lacked that sense of like horror spectacle for me to recommend it to horror people. And so unfortunately for the film, I can't really recommend it well, because I think it sits in this awkward pocket 7-8 months from the first one. You need to have seen the other one, which is a film I recommend, but it's very different to this. I really hope it doesn't flop, because I want 28. I like what 28's doing, and I hope it succeeds. But as it stands, I don't think it was the best play to release it in the way it did, titled the way it did, and everything there.
No, I think awkward's the right word. That's how it kind of feels. And I agree with you. I love the ideas in it. And I kind of said throughout my review, I respect and admire what Alex Garland is doing this. And it's very well executed by DaCosta as well. It's a very well accomplished film. I think in a way, I'm starting to think, does this slightly happen sometimes with Alex Garland movies? Like Civil War, for example. Really interesting ideas. Slightly muddied execution ultimately. And
Spike not being at the core of it, I think also really is like that's what was missing.
That connective tissue.
Whereas like when Spike's whole thing really clicks, and the ending is so great of 28 years later, I'm like, that really was the through point, and then he sort of becomes 44. I'm like, that really holds it. This is led so well by Rafe Fiennes and Jack O'Connell, but they sort of are doing a completely different thing. I just want to be clear, like it is a very different film about different things. That's not why I dislike it. It just is part of why it's so different and why it's not worked.
And I do think, clearly, like you had with your screening, some people really liked it, and I'm not actually negative about it at all. I'm just having this sort of slight feeling of awkwardness about where I place it. I like you, knew it would never really reach the heights of 28 years. I still like the ideas in it, but I'm kind of sort of juggling it in my mind of like, well, it's not like a great film that I say people have to go out and watch, but it doesn't really serve the horror fans. It's kind of this sort of awkward middle, and I worry.
Made.
No, not badly made at all. I do love the fact that they're building a new trilogy, and it's kind of that thing I said about like a new British franchise. It's like, yes, we've got Bond and Harry Potter, but I kind of feel, because this is so weird and nasty, it's probably how the Australians feel about Mad Max. I'm like, yes, this is a kind of new template that we use, a new canvas rather, that we're using to talk about interesting ideas that are still relevant today, both about Britain and the world, about, as you say, falling under false leadership, false idols, the way that we encounter society. I really like all of that. It's just this slightly awkward thing. And my worry, I don't want this to happen to the film, but my worry is it's not going to perform very well for all the reasons we've said. It's going to fall between too many stools, and might put but I hope that doesn't put pressure on any sort of potential third one.
Another thought in my mind is like, would I like and remember 28 years later more if they hadn't made the Bone Temple and 28-3? Because 28 years is it stands alone. It's intellectually and story arc complete for me. It doesn't need a sequel to be effective as a film.
Do you know what? I could have easily...
Versus like, the Fellowship of the Ring, they need to make the next ones. I need to see Frodo destroy the ring. There's like a difference.
I know this is unfair because you and I are not filmmakers and we don't make movies and we don't work in the film industry, so it's not fair for us to say this, but it's like, would it have been better in a different version of this where we finish 28 years later and then 3 years later you come back and Spike is now older. But I guess obviously it's called 28 years later, so it has to take place in the same year, which is annoying.
30 years later.
Yeah, I know, but I guess obviously for that reason it does have to take place in the same year. But I almost... do you almost wish that we hadn't had the Jack O'Connell ending to the first one, so that when we pick up with Spike now, we're like, whoa, where is he?
Where is he? What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the Bone Temple. It's not a bad film.
For fans of 28 years, by all means, go and see it. And you might walk out of it and have a lot more I've just taken a lot more from it than we have. Lots of people I went to go and see it with had a really good time. And don't let our opinions sort of like detract from yours. But as always, we would love to hear what you think. Send in your emails to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. We'll read them out on the show.
And I'd be curious to know, you mentioned sort of the third act sort of spectacle and sequence to it, which, yes, is interesting. But I think because the film hadn't quite carried me the whole way, there was a tiny part of me in the third act experience where I was like, is this a little silly, what's happening?
Yeah,
if you actually think about the plot of what's happening here, is this actually a little bit naff?
It's a bit of a crowd pleaser.
Well, no, it's more just like, I can't talk about it without spoiling it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you off air, but it's like, I just thought, oh, this could be a little cringe. I hate to use that word.
And there is like a big setup for the next one for people who are interested with moments that will call back, and you could go, oh right, yeah, that to me it was like, oh, it's going to leave me so excited for the third, and I'm like, it's just cheap because I was like, I get what you're doing, and I will see the third one, but you and I talked about, we don't hold out waiting for what's going to happen between 28 years films. We're not wondering in the way we do for some other things about what's going to happen. It's like I take them as they come. And
yes,
sometimes
exactly.
they're incredible.
Anyway, as James said, if you'd like to send us your thoughts on The Bone Temple, which is out Wednesday, 14th of January, you can do by sending your thoughts into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
Okay, George, now to talk about Hamnet.
Oh, yes, this looks terrific. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but you have, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts.
I flew back from South Africa, got in 6:50 in the morning, touchdown.
Right.
And did a little reset day, shower, bit of laundry.
Have a nap?
I did have a nap.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm going to go to a nice Curzon, not sponsored, and just go and get a nice little screening of Hamnet in. Full screening, George. The Curzon screens aren't huge, but full. Chock-a-block Sunday night for Hamnet. It's a very sort of like...
Yeah, of course.
It's sort of...
It's red wine of the
red
Curzon
wine,
movie,
went to go see it. It's just won 2 Golden... We're recording this the day after the Golden Globes. It's won 2. Jessie Buckley won for Best Actress, and it has won Best Picture for Drama.
Yes.
Is it just Best Picture of the Golden?
There's musical or comedy, and then there's drama.
It's won Best Picture. Lots of awards.
Golden Globes, by the way, it's a whole other topic, but they don't actually mean anything because they just voted for by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which is a tiny little body and it has no sort of industry sway. It's not even as credible as the Academy. But anyway, that's a whole different thing.
It's the start of the run.
It's
the
just,
glitz and glamour.
It's basically like you might as well. I mean, the Oscars is still 2 months away.
Yeah,
anyway.
Well, there you go. Directed by Chloe Zhao, who you'll know from films like Nomadland and then Eternals, and that was kind of her. That was when the MCU was really plucking these sort of like artistic indie directors from the A24 pool, elevating them into the studio, and it was kind of this case where Eternals didn't perform well critically, commercially, and it was sort of, I think, for her a bit of like, she unfortunately became the poster child of some of these directors that had been like you had the Taika Waititis who had done very well with it, like even like Scott Derrickson's and co, who'd all now been elevated from the MCU. James Gunn, technically, if you want to go there. And I've almost felt like she'd had this sort of misstep with Eternals, which was a more slower, somber MCU movie, unfortunately, to its detriment. I forget, by the way, that movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is really kind of mad.
The most notable thing is that a lot of it is shot outside.
Yes.
And not on a green screen or in the volume.
Yeah, I will say Hamnet, all seemingly completely natural light, natural and candle, like a train dream.
And I really liked Nomadland, actually.
Yeah.
Which actually, the Train Dreams is sort of in the same genre of pocket things.
It
of,
is.
America,
very
Journey.
mossy.
Very
mossy,
yeah.
mossy film.
A little peppering of Terrence Malick, perhaps. A little.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And so she's back now with Hamnet, which is a beloved book and play, which I've not read and not seen. I was speaking to my partner's mother, who's very familiar with the book and the play, and she was like, should I see it? Because I've seen those. And I was like, well, I'll let you know, and I'll let you all know now. But yeah, so that is written by Maggie O'Farrell, and this was a screenplay co-written by Chloe Zhao and Maggie O'Farrell. So the creator of Hamnet, very closely tied to this film. And we're told in the opening that Hamnet and Hamlet are names that are, at the time, used interchangeably. So it's very convenient because they wanted to call this film Hamlet. People would be disappointed to not have Hamlet. So it's quite nice. They could be like, oh no, this is Hamnet. And this is the story of the early life of William Shakespeare. Have you heard of him?
I have. I think he can do tremendous things.
I think he's going to be really big. Meeting his...
Kevin Feige wants to hire him for the next phase of the MCU.
Too late, he's Paul McCartney now. Paul Mescal plays a young William Shakespeare, and Jessie Buckley plays his wife, Agnes. We see them living in the countryside in England. They are in neighbouring farm cottages, William Shakespeare teaches Latin to neighboring children in the same sort of, house as Jessie Buckley to pay off his father's debt. He meets Jessie Buckley, who is a very woodsy, earthy woman. She wears these red dresses, and the first shot we see of her is, I would describe it as like cradled by the root of a tree in the fetal position, and she is very much drawn to the woods. It is said her mother was a witch of the woods. She flies a hawk in the woods, and she's often drawn there and goes to have her first child not in the house but instead like in nature. And there's this real sense of a life and death exchange, a darkness, sort of caves looking into something else, and there's being this sort of light and dark of life and death. I'll get onto that later. They obviously court their relationship, become very close, she is pregnant outside of wedlock, much to the chagrin of their parents. And it's not a spoiler because this is very much in the trailer, but the family that they grow together endure a tragedy. And the sort of second half of this film are the repercussions of that, the strains on their relationship, the strains on their family. William Shakespeare, also George, by the way, I don't know if you know this, went on to become quite a successful playwright.
Oh, good for him.
Is drawn to London, where he obviously knocking London. There is a lot of that. London, you go to London, knocking around the globe. He's drawn to make some of the great plays of all time, and that takes him away from his family. Meanwhile, the bubonic plague is rife in London, and he is drawn away from his family. And Jessie Buckley is alone with Emily Mortimer, who's doing brilliant work in this, and Joe Alwyn, who plays her brother, also doing great work. Again, from The Brutalist. I'm like, you're very good.
He does turn up and stuff.
He turns out he's doing good supporting work. Joe Alwyn, you keep it up.
Lanthimos here, Brady Corbett there.
Yeah, like he's doing really good work. And so there you go. So straight away into it. I didn't know anything about this film, and the aesthetic of it is gorgeous and minimalist. I said it's all shot seemingly, as far as I'm aware, on natural light. It's very earthy. There are moss, there's leaves, there's streams, there's nature, there's danger, there's power. Straight out the gate, George. The performances in this are absolutely top notch. Jessie Buckley in particular, she's just won the Golden Globe. I think it's probably between her and Renata Reinsve right now for Best Actress. She's absolutely top draw. Brilliant in this.
Another actor, we would say, good in everything.
We've seen her be really good in things like Women Talking and even in Men. And I think now she has gone, in my eyes, straight to the very top. She's absolutely world class. I basically got to what I would describe as the last 20-25 minutes of this film. And the film does a lot of warming you up to get you very emotional. I'll get onto that later. But I described the final sequence of this film to be genuinely electric and deeply sad. And I was completely drawn in and sucked in and lost in my own head. And in such a wonderful way, I completely relinquished myself over to the film. And there was not a single dry eye in my screening. And there's quite a small Curzon screening. And just like the last 5-10 minutes, it was just really sobs and sniffs. And this guy next to me who doesn't look like someone who would cry, who had a big man with a big beard. I looked over and he had tears going down. And it's desperately sad. And the film really does do a good job to get you there. And there's this wonderful idea, about life and death being this very horrifying exchange in a lot of ways. And in order to sort of move on with death, sometimes you have to give it life, and sometimes with life comes death. Like this isn't a spoiler, this doesn't happen, but like the pain of childbirth in that era sometimes could be at the cost of death, right? There's a real genuine danger there, and there's sickness, and there's sort of people who come very close, and like how you deal with that can be a death of yourself, and all of that I think is really beautifully done. It's haunting in so many ways, where I was like, this is a ghost story in so many ways, and there's the Hamlet connection there of the ghost, which is really well done. But at any moment, it could have, for me, gone into horror. Like the spectre of death could have appeared and exchanged life for death. And like it didn't. That would be a terrible idea. But do you see what I mean? Like it felt really ghost-like. And I think all of that is brilliant. My gripe on the film, if I'm to be really honest, is that it is probably in the first half massively overacted. The film immediately, I think, is very excited, knows it's incredibly emotional, and I think too soon is over-egging itself. And I think a lot of times I was like, can you just buy me a glass of red and some dinner first, and I'll probably get that. And like in the second half of the film, especially the last minute, it was okay because the content was good enough that I was deeply sad for it. I kind of felt like with filmmaking, you need to come some way, and then you need to also let the audience meet you there. Whereas sometimes I feel like some of the choices that were maybe made by director, actor on the day was almost like you dialed me up so quickly, I could have done with a little bit more of a run up. The dramatic ingredients are there that I was very much with you towards the end. I think it's personally overacted, and I think if you go and see it, and if you have seen it, I think you'll know the 2 or 3 moments in there that were overacted for me.
And do you think you're noticing that because the way it's shot, the way it's filmed is very natural, it's very naturalistic in its style, that when they have these moments of melodrama or overacting, it seems particularly pointed?
Yeah, or sort of. Yeah, I just feel like they know what they've got coming later, and it's almost like they've jumped the gun, and maybe they don't know what part of the film they're in, and they're just giving it all too soon, which is a really tough criticism because the film is, I think it's just over 2 hours. There's plenty of runway to get there. I just could have maybe just taken its time to do that. The film does take its time, but when you sort of are told you should be sad, you should be sad, you should be sad, you should be sad, sometimes by the time when I am to be sad, I feel like I get it. You were telling me I should be sad. There are moments which I think some people might find quite cheesy. I personally didn't, where, you know, Paul Mescal's Shakespeare is pretty sad and looks over a river and says, "To be or not to be, that is the question." And he does, like, should I kill myself, essentially. That might be sort of the most musical biopic-y part of the William Shakespeare story, where it's like, you know, Robbie Williams singing down Regent Street. I didn't mind it because I'm like, well, this is what it is, right? He probably is going to say these types of things. That could be cheesy for you. I didn't mind that. Right, so...
By the way, can I just on that point? That is Mark Kermode calls those moments in biopics chubby hum moments, right? This is such a niche sort of tangent, but basically, it refers to they made a musical. So they made a biopic about Karen Carpenter, right? You know, the singer who died of anorexia. And there's a moment in the Karen Carpenter story where she's reading a review, and it says something like, "The Carpenters did this, blah blah blah," as well as the slightly chubby singer, and she goes, "Chubby." And it's like this flag to the audience, like, oh, she's going to be anorexic. And
I see.
He refers to it whenever there's like a very loaded moment. It's a bit like even in The Social Network, where he says, when the flatmate's like, oh, what's, is that person your class single? And he's like, people don't just walk around with their relationships. And he like runs across the campus, like, it's a chubby hum moment. And that's what you have there with Paul Mescal.
It's like it is fiction based on real life events. But I don't for one second believe that William Shakespeare just considering whether or not he was so just sad. He stood at the foot of a bridge and said, "To me or not to me, that is a question whether just no." Like I'm okay suspending my disbelief of that, but you might, you know. And he like gets his kids to do the 3 witches from Macbeth, and it's like I don't mind that. It's all part of it. So I think the film totally succeeds and is a brilliant triumph. I think Jessie Buckley should without a doubt go on. I'd be really happy for her to win Oscar. It's beautifully shot, really emotional. Paul doing great work. I think if I'm to be like brutally honest, he's doing fantastic work that I love to see him do more of. He's maybe the person who's the victim of the overacting in the first half, only slightly. I mean, like, I'm really nitpicking here, but I think in general the thing maybe in the first half just was a little bit too much. Right, so in the final sequence of this film, which is brilliant, there is so the music, which I only noticed is done at the credits, is done by Max Richter. Of
course.
Who does famously
On the Nature of Daylight.
On the Nature of Daylight. The final sequence of this film plays On the Nature of Daylight, which most famously is used in films like Shutter Island, Arrival, most recently on television with The Last of Us.
Brilliant episode TV.
It's a beautiful piece of music. And so I didn't know it was Max Richter's score film. I get to this final thing, which, don't get me wrong, it still worked. And I was there and I was deeply emotional. And then On the Nature of Daylight plays. And I'll be honest, it just took me out because I was like, oh, you're doing that song. I personally think that song now, unfortunately, I mean this is a compliment to Max Richter, has kind of become, I think On the Nature of Daylight has almost become the sad song of the internet. And I think it's been used too frequently, too recently in films I know and love, where unfortunately the use of it has actually reminded me of other things I've watched recently which has that song. And it's almost like why you don't play Moonlight Sonata or Claire de Lune in your film unless you're sort of like making a really pointed decision to like it's iconic and it doesn't necessarily fit this very specific thing. So my question, and it was the first thing I Googled when I got out of this because I saw it was like music by Max Richter and I was like, why is it used this? And it has been a very controversial music choice. And there's a lot of apparently like cast decisions made it. Originally there was a different song attached. And I'm like, surely if you've got Max Richter, could you not wouldn't he have then chosen to do something different? And wouldn't the director have also been aware?
Don't play your big hit, right?
Play your big hit. Like, surely you should do something else. And so, unfortunately, although it does work and it's a heartbreaking piece of music, it did actually draw me out of the experience of being like, that's the end of Arrival. That's the scene where with the wife in Shutter Island. That's episode 3 of The Last of Us, which I think is such a shame. And I can't just mean it as a compliment. I'm like, your music is so good. It's been used so many times.
I totally know what you mean. Yeah.
It's just unfortunately taking me out of this brilliant moment, and I was still like in tears, and I thought it was brilliant and just beautiful. But I just have to flag this as like that's used too many times. That song now, as a compliment to Max Richter, I think should be rested for a generation, just to let it sort of come to define something new and to mean something new to a new generation of people. I don't think we can just shoehorn this into films now and go, that's the sad song, play the sad song. It just doesn't work.
I agree with you. Obviously, I've not seen the film, but I would have the same reaction because it is a heartbreaking piece of music, as you say.
Yeah.
And cynically, it makes you feel like they go, what can we really do to press the bruise in this scene to really turn up to 11?
Exactly.
Insert the emotional song.
And I feel like for 2 hours they've been like, cry please, you're gonna cry.
Yeah,
We're gonna get you to cry. We're gonna get you to cry a little bit too soon. Oh my god, it's so sad. Oh my god, we're so miserable. Wasn't it so sad that this happened and that happened? Oh, let's play On the Nature of Daylight. It feels a little bit easy.
What you're talking about is I think is actually an interesting topic about associations with songs, because objectively, I suppose we can say any filmmaker has the right to use any song in their own way, in their own context.
Exactly.
But the fact is that audience members don't come in to see films completely fresh and new. They audience members have a cumulative experience of seeing films over many, many years, and they bring in those associations, right? So that's the case here. I had a similar thing recently with Is This Thing On, which is the Bradley Cooper movie, which is out in a few weeks, which I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on. But I had a similar thing where that uses the isolated vocals of Under Pressure in it. And again, it's like Bradley Cooper has the right to do that, but that was so specifically and so effectively and famously used in After Sun that to use it so soon after feels a bit cheap, a bit unimaginative, and a bit hollow. And it's kind of like the reason why you don't see films using the Gary Jules cover of Mad World. Because like it was so effective and so brilliantly used and became very famous. And if TikTok had been around 20 years ago, that would have been a viral hit.
It's a meme now.
Yeah, it is. It's a meme. You don't use Mad World because yes, it immediately makes you sad and everything. But like, and I think that's what's happening with certain tracks.
Jacob in the Stone, the TikTok one, like the
if you know, you know exactly. It's and
it's both a compliment to Max Richter of like saying the song you used it's been overused, but the fact that he was attached to doing it almost dictates that he would therefore say, don't use this. It's been used very recently, very famously.
Was he late on a deadline, Max? Do you think he was like, tell you what I've got?
I was skim reading on my way home because I was like, this has to be a thing that people are commenting on, and it is controversial. People are criticizing it for it. From what I understand, it was a last minute inclusion, and there's a mix of cast and director all sort of like having an input on this, and it being played on set on the day. So it's strange that like, because like Max Richter didn't do the score for Arrival.
No.
Or for Shutter Island. They had a different score, but then that song by Max Richter was played at the moment it was played in. This is interesting to me because this is a Max Richter scored film, and he's chosen to use it, and Chloe Zhao's obviously chosen to use it. So all of that is just like, it all just is strange, and I couldn't stop thinking about it at the moment when I should have been the most invested in the film. And I'd be, and this could be so specific to us, by the way, because you and I watch every film, and we are on the internet like watching film stuff, and I just think like we have a specific experience to it. Loads of people probably watching the film, but like, what are you talking about? Beautiful song, beautiful movie. Get over it. Get on with it.
Yeah, but it's like you use On the Nature of Daylight for the fan edit of Hamnet on TikTok. Yeah. You don't use it for the actual
to get
movie.
me excited to rewatch it.
Yeah. But I use a minor point, but an interesting element.
I don't always like go on and on about it, but like I really do think a lot of our audience will hear that song and they'll go, that was the heartbreaking finale of Arrival. You shouldn't. That to me has only made me think of something else, which is a shame.
So we've had a couple of emails about Hamnet that have come in, and the first one is from Melissa. And again, if you have seen Hamnet and you want to let us know your thoughts, please send them into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Melissa says, hi, George and James. Long-time listener, first-time writer into the show. Big fan of the pod, especially your best of film genre movie series. I saw Hamnet on opening day of release, and I, for one, loved it. Particularly Jessie Buckley. Her performance was formidable.
She's really good.
I mean, she's great. Really great. And will definitely stay with me for a while, as I was a mess by the end of the film. The whole cast performance were wonderful, particularly the young actor Jacoby
Oh
Jupe.
my god, the kid who plays Hamnet, so
the
good.
brother of Noah Jupe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
yeah.
You know Noah Jupe from other stuff. from like
Remind me?
Noah Jupe
What's
from
he
like
in?
Ford v Ferrari and
Oh,
this guy.
The name rings a bell.
He's grown up now, but like that guy.
Yeah,
That's his brother.
great. He's brilliant. He's really brilliant child acting.
That kid is going places,
Yeah.
Melissa says. It may just overtake Marty Supreme as my favourite awards contender this year. We'll be interested to hear what you both think of the film. Thank you for all you do, Melissa.
This next one is from Maya, who writes in and says, "Hey guys, love the podcast. As a previous 3 films a year person,
Whoa.
your podcast has been an amazing aid to my journey into film and developing my knowledge and experience as a viewer. I started watching more films in the summer after exams last year, and I've managed to rack up over 150 since. That's more than me.
That's
That's really good. What a switch.
What an accomplishment.
Yeah. And I must say, I'm fully converted. I am a fully converted cinephile. With that in mind, my goal for this year is to watch more films on the big screen, as I know you really endorse that as a huge part of the viewing experience. That's a great thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a proper.
It's really cliched, but like the more you watch films on the big screen, the more you're like, this is the way to do it.
Yes, totally.
I must say, I was a bit nervous after my last attempt 4 years ago when I went to watch Miss M. Night's Old and left
M. Night
after
Shyamalan's,
M. Night Shyamalan's Old and left after 20 minutes due to the abysmal acting and dialogue. However, my experience of Hamnet yesterday has she's done italics in like a different font for the titles. My experience of Hamnet yesterday has restored my faith in the cinema experience and will be returning ASAP.
Put that on the poster.
Jessie Buckley delivers the performance of the decade, so devastating, considered, and heartbreaking. Paul Mescal shares such beautiful and genuine chemistry with Jessie, I agree, and will always be the perfect Shakespeare in my eyes. The young acting is brilliant and helped deliver a masterful experience all round. Let the awards flood in for this stellar film and cast. To end a slightly rambling email, apologies, I would just like to ask, do you have any favourite Shakespeare adaptations or films based on his plays? For me, it has to be Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet or 10 Things I Hate About You, although I'm very excited for Riz Ahmed's Hamlet coming soon. Wish you guys all the best in 2026. Sent using ink and quill in the true Shakespearean fashion. Maya from Kent. Yeah, I agree. They do have really great chemistry. Everyone is brilliant in this. It really is just 4 actors and the kid. It's like those two, Emily Mortimer, Joe Alwyn, and the kids, and they're great. And yeah, it's like Paul Mescal's doing the great work that he does in this, and particularly in the last sequence. If you've seen the film, you know where he's placed and what he does to play the role that he does is perfect. And there's this wonderful allegory of like this is quite powerful because it's shot in the Globe. This is an allegory for a story that echoes through in time forever as a loving tribute. Like, oh, it's so beautifully done. I will say, Paul Mescal with his trendy mullet and his little earring. You know, sometimes we describe actors as having seen an iPhone. Yeah. He describes actors as having seen like a matcha flat white in East London. Like, just a little bit too trendy and cool.
He got a line bike there. He got line bike to the Globe.
He line bike to the Globe. It's parked outside. I'm showering it with praise with like minor contingencies, and it's an interesting one to watch because it just shows that sometimes I think you've got to ease it in a bit. Yeah. Let me come to you, and I'll feel like I made the choice to cry.
Yes.
I don't want to be told that like crying wasn't my own decision.
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
Yeah, cattle prodded into doing
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
In terms of Shakespeare adaptations, obviously yes, 10 Things I Hate About You is great. Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. I want to give a shout out to a forgotten movie, which is Ralph Fiennes' directorial debut, Coriolanus.
Yeah.
Which is, have you seen it?
No, but
okay.
I know of it.
Yeah. But I only mentioned that because bizarrely, like, me and like 4 mates went to see that at the cinema when we were like 17, and it's shot kind of like it takes place in an echo of the Balkan conflict from the 90s, and it's got Ralph Fiennes as this general. It's got Jessica Chastain in it. It's got Vanessa Redgrave as his mum.
Is it Tom Hiddleston?
No, it's he did it on stage, Tom Hiddleston, but it's Gerard Butler as the enemy, which is a very interesting role for Gerard Butler in a Shakespeare adaptation because obviously at that point as well, Gerard Butler famous for doing sort of the low-sos 300 kind of movies, and it's got some good action scenes in it. It's not terrible at all. Ralph Fiennes is obviously very good in it. We've been talking about him all day with 28 years, so I just want to give a shout out to that. I also want to kind of just give a little bit of a defense to Shakespeare in Love. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it for years.
You know what? People often only talk about Shakespeare in Love for 2 reasons. They either say that's the movie that Harvey Weinstein won an Oscar for, which is obviously terrible. And that's the movie that beat Saving Private Ryan, which obviously is a very famous and an amazing film, Saving Private Ryan. However, Shakespeare in Love is still a great movie. It is still very fun, very funny, and very romantic. It is kind of, in a way, like a very good rom-com. Should it have beaten Saving Private Ryan? That's Oscar politics. I don't really care about that. But I just want to defend that
years ago.
Joseph Fiennes and Gwyneth Paltrow, she won an Oscar for that. He's very good in it. Ben Affleck's in it. He's really good. Judi Dench has like 8 minutes of screen time, got nominated. And I just like, it's a fun movie. It's one of my dad's favorite movies, actually. It's a really lovely film.
I've not seen it. I think years.
It's so charming. So charming.
I think in the spirit of also loving 10 Things I Hate About You, I'm going to give a shout out to She's the Man.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a typical 12th Night.
You're ugly.
Yeah. It's a really great performance from Amanda Bynes. It's so funny. I'm not sure if that film's okay now.
I watched it 2 years ago.
Is it good?
Yeah,
it checks out.
Vinnie Jones as the sports team.
Illyria and
I don't know. Valeria.
They're like American schools and colleges. Yeah, it's just great. Channing Tatum's great in that.
Really good, Channing Tatum.
Just like Amanda Bynes, peak of her powers.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
George, should we go through some of the emails that we get sent into the show every single week? As always, guys, if you want to send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns,
your news, your reviews,
you can, of course, send them into
hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. And if you're new to the show, maybe we should tell at this point that this is how the structure of a numbered episode of Pulp Kitchen goes.
Yeah.
Intro, reviews, sometime an interview in between, emails, and then we end with the game. But at the moment, we're doing the emails.
So, of course, send them into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com, or you can support us at the VIP tier on Patreon, or, George, you'd be sent straight to the top and be a producer, like our brand new producer, Umar. Umar writes in and says, hello, George and James and George. I just wanted to let you know that I've officially subscribed to the producer tier on Patreon. I salute you, Umar. Sir. Welcome to the pool. I love your podcast and the different hot takes. I just wanted to express my love and gratitude for reigniting film podcasts and the love of cinema for me personally.
Oh, wow, that's emboldening, isn't it? Makes me want to sort of lead the charge.
We're saving film podcasting. I've thoroughly enjoyed around film and mechanisms behind the different types of IMAX. James, we applaud you. And being able to hear George talk about his newfound love of the Harry Potter universe, I agree, of The Order of the Phoenix is the best film.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it, yeah.
I wanted to ask about your thoughts about 28 years later, The Bone Temple. I'm surprised you didn't discuss it in the newest episode. Well, it's only just come out, and there you go. I hope you've heard yourself. I'm hoping to catch the double billing at the Odeon Broadway. I really enjoyed 28 Years Later because it was slightly satirical. I am also more excited about Doomsday than the average viewer, because I feel like if anyone can pull it off, it is the Russo brothers. They have given us great cinema before with Infinity War and Endgame. I see what you mean. The Russo brothers are safe hands in the MCU.
If
they've not misstepped,
I would be like, it's smart to get them to do it.
To get them back to do it, yeah.
You get the captain to drive the sinking ship.
Yeah.
To land. I think, also I'd forgotten that, yes, some places are doing 28 Years Later and The Bone Temple as a double bill, which, although a long evening, might make the Bone Temple make a little bit more sense.
It's so different. It might be like that second one is different.
Just also on Umar's points about your IMAX knowledge, I saw an interview that pointed out that Jack O'Connell in the past few years has been in films that... So Bone Temple's shot on the Arri 35.
I think so.
He was in Sinners, which was the
65 or
ultra-wide IMAX.
Could be. No, it was IMAX. Sorry,
Yeah.
IMAX 70, yeah.
And, oh God, he did another one. Basically, he was like, you've actually been in the past few years, like some of the major formats,
yes,
except for VistaVision.
Right,
And in the interview, Jack O'Connell was just like, really?
Cool.
I just do my bit, man. I just turn up and the camera, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
only Tom Cruise knows everything about the camera that's being used. We're going to talk about on Double Take about how we chop it into the Star Wars Starfighter set to shoot something. It just goes on to say, I'm a huge fan and do have proof of it. See image attached. Keep up the amazing work. You guys are awe-inspiring and hilarious. Kind regards, Umar. Umar, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where is this attachment? I cannot see it on my machine.
Oh, we don't have an attachment.
We don't have an attachment.
I believe you.
But Umar, thank you so much.
This next email is from another producer, kicking off 2026 with our producers with cigar chomping and blowing smoke, through the air.
It's gonna be a good year, boys. Good year.
This next email is from our producer, Dave.
Hello,
writes
Dave.
in and says, "Dear George, dear James, hello. I'm writing to you today regarding your call out to non-UK listeners on their opinion of Johnny English. Yes, last year, towards the end of last year, we did an episode about the best comedy movies, and we talked about Johnny English, and the question we had around it was, if you're not from the UK,
do you know of and love?
Yeah, do you know
Johnny
what
English?
a Johnny English is? Okay. And Dave, who I believe is from Canada, has answered the call, and he says, I had watched 1 and 2 when they released, as I'm a fan of Rowan Atkinson, particularly Mr. Bean. I'd watched 1 when it released, and then again just before 2 released. My opinion then is much the same as it is now. 1 is very enjoyable and quite funny. 2 is enjoyable but more amusing than funny, and I had quite a few laughs with 1 and 2. and I had quite a few laughs with one, and two gave me exactly 3 laughs.
Right.
So I was getting confused because there are, of course, three movies. I found Johnny English Reborn to be very gadget heavy, which is maybe where the extra $5 million budget was spent. I thought if they had as many good lines as they had gadgets, the film would have been hilarious. I've been told by the other sirens on Discord to avoid watching Johnny English Strikes Again, as it isn't worth it. But since I own, as part of Johnny English package, all 3 in one box, I might have to watch it for science. Righto, cheerio, jolly good, your friend and producer, Dave from Saskatchewan. That's very interesting because in a way, like I don't have to. My brain is it's not computing the fact that there are 2 other Johnny Englishes.
Do you know what, George? In a world where they never made a sequel to Johnny English, I know for a fact I would be sat here going, "Make Johnny English too. It'll be amazing. Just do it. Rowan Atkinson, do it." And I do live in the world where we have 3 of them, and it's not. It's not what I wanted it to be.
I'm glad that he.
Wouldn't it be great if there was just one and it was like it was the legacy sequel I always wanted?
Yes,
but never. Yeah.
If they just waited a little bit longer. But anyway, thank you, Dave, for those.
This next one is from Eliza, who says, "Hello, Major Jeans Aged."
Yes, that is at the PS. Eliza says, in case it's not obvious, the addressee's name is an anagram of our names, James, to avoid any sense of favoritism. So she's taken our names, Major Jeans Age, as a combination of James and George.
Oh my God.
We have such smart listeners.
Eliza, you're upping the game.
Eliza, you're so smart.
Long-time listener here and proud winner of the 2024 Christmas Pulp Kitchen quiz.
Oh, wow. Welcome back.
Huge shout out to my feral sirens who helped claim the glory that night. I've also recently subtracted a pint from my budget and subscribed to the Patreon.
Yes,
thank you so much.
That's it, guys. If you just have 1 pint less.
1 pint less a month.
It's basically like buying us a pint.
Yes.
To hang out with us all month.
And we'll give you multiple episodes of a new show per month.
Exactly.
Alcohol's bad for you. Which I found
drink responsibly.
I was going to say, which I found incredibly worthwhile. Hearing you talk more in depth about film has genuinely sparked a passion in me to get more involved with local film events at my uni and in the surrounding
James,
area.
Are we saving cinema?
I think so. One thing I often wonder is how you stay so well informed. I know it comes a lot from a relentless deep dives into film discourse and journalism, but for someone still finding their feet, where is the best place to look? Are there any magazines, newsletters, or writers you regularly follow to keep up with what's going on? Also, thanks for introducing me to Fred Asquith.
Yeah.
And with his great and different approach to film content. Don't worry though, you guys will always remain number one, if only for the sake of my eardrums.
Know your place, Fred.
You're
number 2.
A final thought on the idea that Avatar is never actively marketed and simply materializes. I might have to disagree with you there. Disney's Animal Kingdom in Florida has a full-scale Pandora complete with wild and Navi-style food. While it's not
excuse me, can I just interject at that point? You know this story, James, but I've had the Navi-style food at the Pandora ride in the Animal Kingdom in Orlando, Florida. It's the worst food I've ever eaten in my mouth in my life. I don't know why they would create a pineapple cream cheese spring roll, but if that's the kind of food they're eating on Pandora, they can shove it. I will rip my oxygen mask off
not having
and
that
just suffocate than have to consume any more of that processed garbage. Sorry.
That sounds awful.
It was the worst. I'd rather eat an artery full of cholesterol.
While it's not direct marketing for the newer films, it definitely keeps the world of Avatar present and alive long after the original release. I can't thank you enough for everything you do. The Richard E. Grant impression is something I quote almost every day. All the best, Eliza. P.S. Go on, George.
Yeah, baby, welcome 2026. I'm quite granty, and I know if you're listening on Spotify, you might be able to not see
you got
the
a
video.
turtleneck on. You're
The
very
turtleneck
Richard
and the glasses.
Yeah.
Just
very
wonderful.
I think my point on it's not that I don't believe there are extensive theme parks and built things for Avatar. I think they left the Avatar marketing quite close to the bone for a film that cost that much and that needed to make that much money. It's okay. It made loads of money. They were fine. But I was almost just like, are you going to talk about this? What's an Avatar? Who's an Avatar?
Let's go next for Anders, who writes in about train dreams. Friend of the show, Anders, who writes about train dreams and tech dreams, he says. He wrote about train dream. We reviewed Train Dreams towards the end of last year. It kind of came out on Netflix quietly, but actually one of our favorites of the year. It's a fantastic movie. Train Dreams. In your episode, James talked about how well this was shot and comparing digital and film, pointing out that lighting is a more important factor than format. I agree with everything you said, but I'm not fully in sync with your point. Yes, natural light is gorgeous and the lighting is more important for the style. You described this film as dreamy and gentle, and I agree, but the cinematic style should also match the storytelling. They shot this film with the camera handheld as close as possible, making you feel like you're there. As you said, this must be one of the best digital cameras, but the extremely sharp visuals paired with an insanely high frame rate fell out of place. Was it a high frame rate? I don't believe so.
No, there's not a high frame rate there.
This
It
film-
was shot regular, unless there was some slow motion. But no, it wasn't shot high frame rate.
This film is dreamy, told like a memory. The compositions are mostly very beautiful, but I think a film should have been shot on a longer lens from a distance, making it something you can't quite reach. Look, mate, look, as we say every week, unless you're a filmmaker yourself, and we're not, I don't think we should
Yeah.
tell them how to make the movie. So for me, the question wasn't film or digital, but present or dreamy. They chose high tech. P.S. The film was good. P.S. 2, a buddy called it Manchester by the Woods. That's good. I thought that was fitting. Manchester by the Woods from your Norwegian siren, Anders.
I
Very
think,
good.
like, just on your point, there's a point where composition and lens choice is subjective. And you could go, oh, I prefer the look of a longer lens or a wider lens. It was shot wide and with like a very boxy, it had loads of headroom because it wanted to like show the trees, them in nature. My point was just about if your point is, which a lot of people had been saying, coming out of Wicked, which is a different film with different objectives. But the narrative coming out of that was that digital doesn't look good. It looks sanitized and clean and matte and it doesn't have contrast. And I was just like, go and watch Train Dreams. And I'll show you that the issue is not what camera was used. It's contrast and lighting, with which Wicked doesn't.
Train Dreams did this in a cave
With scraps. With no lighting. And a candle inside in the dark. That's our Iron Man Jeff Bridges impression.
Obadiah Stane.
Obadiah Stane.
Yeah. Okay, next up.
This next one is from Pete, who writes in and says, hi guys, love your work. Despite compiling quite the backlog from the end of last year with your best of series.
We did put out a lot of content, and I hope you're all caught up on it because we did put a lot of effort. But yeah, we did put out a lot.
And too right.
Yeah,
it was
too
served
right.
all the way through.
In
Go
the
and
same
check
way
it
that
out.
like people overeat at Christmas, we were overfeeding you with our content.
People, I've always said we should do content at the end of the year because people travel, they commute, they go home, they come back. Other people aren't making content. We want to have stuff to serve you. Films come out. I've just started the Best of 2020's Part 2, and you opened with a Dreamcast for a Modern Crown season,
I did,
George.
yes.
You did. As you mulled over your picks for Andrew and King Charles, one man came to mind you glossed over, and that is Pierce Brosnan. Sure, some work on hair and weight may be needed, but Netflix is surely able to convert him into our king.
Yeah.
Let me know your thoughts.
I love Pierce Brosnan.
It'd be an Irish king.
Yeah.
Even at the best of James Bond. James Bond.
Is Pierce Brosnan the strongest thespian? No. Does he have incredible great presence and charisma?
Definitely.
And
Sex appeal.
Sex appeal, even in his 70s now.
Yes.
Yes, he does. So I think it would be a very different type of film if he was, or a very different type of series if he was, I'm the king, I'm King Charles, I'm allergic to pepper.
For my Mercedes-Benz.
This is my Mercedes-Benz. Have you heard about... That is it. He's asking.
You live to die another day.
Harry's gone to California with Meghan.
It goes to Littlefinger.
It goes to Littlefinger to quiet Sansa Stark. Thank you, Robert, for that. Oh, Pete. So thank you, Pete, for that. This next one is from
Robert.
No, I'll go for Emma because that one's
sorry.
about a film I haven't seen. So
Oh,
you
sorry,
can do that
sorry.
one.
I'll read that one.
This next one is from Emil. Emil here, pronounced Emil.
Oh, Emil.
No, because he says Emil here,
Sorry.
pronounced Emil. It's a Swedish name. You've got Mills in your ear. This year, I've been really getting back into films and have loved using Letterboxd. Sorry, James, as a way of just logging what I've seen. I'm on Letterboxd if you want to follow. However, I think I've accidentally stumbled onto a category of film that I always seem to enjoy. I've tentatively titled this category as good knitwear films.
Yeah.
Essentially, the better the knitwear, the more likely I am to like the
Talked
film.
about this before.
The same. Some of the films on my list are Anatomy of a Fool, great jumper. When Harry Met Sally, iconic.
Yeah.
Knives Out, of course. The Ballad of Wallace Island,
Great knitwear.
Fargo, and The Holdovers.
I'd like to add The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yes, I think I'm going to add Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
I'm sure the students
Yeah,
are walking
must
around
be.
in a sort of cable knit.
Has to be.
From watching your videos, I'm well aware that you're connoisseurs of good knitwear, and I'm interested. I mean, right now, look at me,
hey,
and I'm
for a roll
interested
neck.
in what films you'd put in the good knitwear film category. I'm hoping this could be an adjacent list to your plain movies list. All the best, Emil. Well, I would say we've just said them there, but also it's kind of like any autumnal vibey film. So obviously, When Harry Met Sally is a good one. Any more, James, to add in for good knitwear?
No, I've given my contribution. Yeah.
I was going to say, does Paul Mescal wear a good knit in God's Creatures? I can't remember, but he's not a very
Probably.
nice man in that movie.
You know what? You know what's a rogue knitwear pick? The Matrix, when they're on the Nebuchadnezzar, they're slightly scraggly, torn.
Yeah.
Apocalypse living in the underground. You know what I mean? Like It's very utilitarian.
Yeah.
But I always actually thought that looks quite comfortable and functional, Neo. You know, they're all in but when they're not in the Matrix, that's my niche knitwear reference for you.
Do you know what film I just remembered had a great jacket in it?
Go on.
Sisu.
Yeah.
Do you remember one of the Nazi pilots had like a shearling, enormous...
We hate to admit it, but they're fabulously dressed. Hugo Boss did a brilliant job.
Christ,
They went to the very best.
And also the Tom Hardy's jacket, I guess, in Dunkirk at the end when he's standing on the beach.
Yeah.
Just like, you look good.
Military uniform, really, isn't it? Yeah.
And lastly,
this one is from Robert, who writes in about Song Sung Blue, which I can't recommend enough. You go and see.
I'm going to try and catch it.
I told my mum to go and see it. She saw it. She loved it. Me and Fred reviewed it effusively at the end of last year, and we posted it this year. And I'm like ready to watch it again. But we both, there was this weird thing. So I don't know what this email says. We were both like, we want to make our review before it comes out, and potentially other people don't like it, which is a weird thing we have of like, I worry people won't love it as much as us.
Yeah, and
it's
they'll taint your
and they'll taint our opinion
yeah.
because we both really loved it. We were almost surprised that we both really loved it, which is strange. I don't know if I've ever had that before. Anyway, hello, you two. Robert goes on to say, having listened to the review of Song Sung Blue, I'm sorry to say that I feel I've been conned, largely by that Fred fellow. Having finished the episode, I immediately got a ticket, a perfect way to raise my tepid spirits on a January evening, or so I thought. Sure, there's some joy in there, a lot of perseverance, the human spirit, charming moments of small-scale optimism, and that are very memorable. But geez Louise, what a way to get there. There's no spoilers, right? Yeah. I felt some more suspense in the final moments than I have in any horror movie released in 2025. Good recommendation, ultimately. Glad I saw it, but clearly I'm lacking in the pinches of salt required for receiving movie recommendations. Besides that, love the podcast. I'm an aspiring screenwriter in London, and when writing, I'm now thinking of you two, and maybe Fred will review what I'm writing. Even more so, given how strongly I agree with your takes on Superman. Felt like I was watching a fidget spinners chucked at my face with that one.
You are a writer, aren't you? Very witty.
Very good. Have either of yourselves given writing a go? I find that most people have an idea for what would make a good movie when prodded correctly. Keep up the good work, and all the best for 2026. Cheers, Rob. No, I've not given writing a go.
Not substantially, only as a hobby, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I have nothing against writing.
I did writing, I did do a little bit during COVID, and I really enjoyed it. Then, you know what happens, James? Life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And
what did you write? Did you read an extract for us? Do you have it saved?
Yeah.
Is it in paper and pen or on a computer?
Both. I've got scrawls of notebooks.
Yeah.
If you ever come across them, you think I'm a madman, but you've got pages about people that don't exist.
Take the podcast for myself.
Yeah. But maybe at some point they'll bear fruit. That would be nice. But I've often found that life gets in the way, and then you look up and 6 years have passed, and you think, oh my goodness.
I reckon we do an even higher, more elite Patreon tier, and it's just you reading your your unfinished COVID
I
fiction.
worry it'll be like Ross's music in Friends with the soundscapes. These are
The
very
words.
personal to me. That's my impression of Friends. Should we end with a game?
Let's do it. George, as ever, Pulp Kitchen ends
With a game.
With a game. We are back with a favourite chucklesome game of ours, which is Guess the Film from its opposite film title.
Classic.
I have written out the antonym of a film, and you would have to tell me what film it is based on its antonyms. You can play along at home. George, are you ready?
I am.
You have to guess the film from its opposite film title. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Plain Nightmares.
Plain Nightmare. Train Dreams.
The Release Unders.
The Holdovers.
Yes. Unsympathetic Adult.
Sympathetic Child. Unsympathetic would be sympathetic child, kid, baby.
Sorry, Baby.
Bad
Bad Poverty.
good fortune.
Yes. Hate Not Really.
Okay. Love Actually.
Yes. Blue 2.
Red 1.
Yes. The Equator Slow.
Arctic Fast. Arctic Fast. Arctic Circle. Arctic Pole.
Yes.
Pole Fast. Fast Pole. Fast pole position. What is it? Fast?
The Polar Express. You were so close. The Thorns.
The Roses.
Yes. Non-fictions of the Rise.
Okay. Non-fictions of the Rise. Story of the Legends of the Fall.
Yes. Lady of the Bracelets, The Three Bungalows.
Okay, so that's Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers.
Yes. Edwina staple legs
Edward Scissorhands.
and remove him forward.
Bring him back.
Bring her back.
Bring her back. There we
Well
go.
done.
Yes.
And that is all she wrote, guys.
Goodness.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. We really appreciate you spending time with us. Don't forget, we post new episodes of this podcast every single Wednesday.
Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Again, if you are a new listener, we really appreciate it. Do stick with us throughout this year because it's going to be
it's gonna be a great
amazing.
year.
And I think this has ended up being quite a lengthy episode, but we've really enjoyed being back and talking about movies. Good to have an interview in there. And yeah, keep your eye on the feed in between the weekly episodes as well, because we often drop bonus content on the podcast feed. So in general, if you follow and subscribe and like our stuff, you will have probably every couple of days something coming on the feed that we'll be talking about, whether it's an interview or talk about an older film or something like that. This is the place to be for film content in 2026.
Make sure you go and get the Patreon sale if you're interested. That's going to go on till the end of January. Use code PULP33. There'll be a link in the description to go and redeem that. And yeah, we're going to go and record our Avengers Doomsday double take special, covering all the trailers and the rumors.
And as ever, I suppose we must conclude this first episode of the year by saying thank you to our producers, Finn, Dave, Loz, and Umar.
We salute you all. Thank you so much for your support. And to everyone who supports and listens, we'll see you very soon for more Pulp Kitchen.
Bye.
Bye, guys.